Hey, what's going on, y'all? It's me coming back at you again with another vid. Now, I was going to, after I uploaded my post-fight thoughts on the Shannon Briggs versus Emilio Sarate fight, I stated in that video that I was going to do a review on the David Haye versus Arnold Jurajai fight. And I decided to reserve my comments in that video because it was going to be more of a rant. And it's going to be more of a further rant about in this video because of what I just found out and learned as of yesterday, I believe, late afternoon that I found out. And I found out that David Haye got a huge payday for this fight. And it's just unbelievable. And the fact that he got a huge payday for fighting Arnold Jurajai is beyond me. And let me just get, let me just, delve in and review the fight. First things first, it was very, very, a farce. Okay. And it's very disappointing for Arnold Jurajai because I've seen him fight. Yes, he hasn't really fought, opposition that, not too many people will be keen on. But at least he's shown some heart in most of his fights that he's won. Okay. He's shown some heart. He showed some tenacity. He's shown that he's willing to stay in there, in hostile and tough situations. But when people, said he was a bum, I disagree with that notion. But he did look like a bum in this fight. I'm not gonna front. He looked like a bum, and it's beyond me that how can a fighter who had a taller reach, may not be as fast as David Haye, but he was taller and had a little bit of a reach advantage over him, and yet he didn't capitalize and use those advantages. He just stood there with a high guard, didn't even move around the ring as much as to where he could negate any of David Haye's punches. He just stood there with his with hard guard and just. He crutched the position where David Haye could just tee off on him whenever he wanted to and pick his shots. And to me, based off this performance and given the fact that Jurajai only threw, I think, total of 10 punches before he got knocked out or TKO in the second round, this fight has a dive written all over it. And it's kind of ironic that this is a third fight that David Haye has been involved in a situation where many people would speculate that his opponent took a dive for a payday. For example, in 2009, one of David Haye's first title defenses as WBA champion was against Ali Harrison. Okay? And some people were kind of, some of the people, especially the British public were kind of shocked and surprised that Ali Harrison was even considered getting this shot, given the fact that he didn't do much to deserve that shot. Okay, maybe so. That was into their opinion, to their assessment. But during that fight, that was probably the worst performance of a heavyweight fighter I ever seen that coming from Ali Harrison. Okay, as I recall, and you guys can quote me on this or correct me in the comment section. As I recall in that fight, Ali Harrison threw a total of one punch, and that was just a straight right. It was a right jab. Threw one punch throughout the course of the fight before it lasted. And I think that fight only lasted 3 rounds. He only threw one punch and he stood there and just, kept his high guard and took shots from David Haye. Just like this sort of fashion that Arnold Jurajai did. Okay? Then we proceed to the Mark DeMori fight. All right, same scenario. Mark DeMori, as I recall, the only punches I think he landed, or not landed, that he thrown totals maybe 1 or 2. And that fight only lasted in the first round. Now, some people can say, well, that is David Haye's first fight. It's his comeback fight. He hasn't been in the ring for, 3 years and whatnot. He needs to, he is rusty, so he needs to, he needs to be freshened up a little bit. He needs, he needs a tune-up. Okay, fair enough. But my point is this, that DeMori and Ali Harrison, but DeMori particularly, ever since he got TKO'd and got knocked out by Haye, we haven't heard from him ever since. Okay, I think, again, from my speculation from these 3 fights, all 3 opponents were there just to take a dive so they can get a payday. Plain and simple. Get a payday. And to find out now, speaking of paydays, to find out that David Haye got paid £1 million, which is in US dollars, I believe it translates to $1.7 million to fight this guy, Arnold Jurajai, is beyond me. And he fooled the British public to the highest degree because, he sold this fight. He needed Shannon Briggs to help sell it, obviously, because him and Briggs is supposed to go at it this fall, which, some now will say that's going to be a farce of a fight because Briggs can definitely sell the fight, no question about it. But he just all talking. He might not even show up because Briggs himself had admitted that he needs a payday. Straight up, he admits it. And David Haye, on the other hand, can't admit that he needs a payday. And this is what Shannon Briggs was talking about, and during that press conference when he crashed it and confronted David Haye. But needless to say, the British public is very angry about this because they felt that Haye is duping them. He's swindling them out of their money, and rightfully so, because after that TKO lost by Jirajive, and let me get into that a little bit. It's quite alarming that Jirajive goes down with a glancing blow, I believe. It was a glancing blow, no question about it. At the end of the first round, he just goes down. Where Haye barely touched the man with the right cross. Barely touched him. And it touched his gloves, and all of a sudden he goes down. Then when the second round proceeds, David Haye throws a left jab. He throws a left jab to Jirajive, and Jirajive goes down. And with all fairness, David Haye just threw the jab as a flickering jab. That's all it was. He didn't put any muster into that jab like Jerry McCullough would put his jabs back in the day. Okay, he didn't put no muster, no power into those jabs. It was a flickering jab, and Jirajive just went down, took a dive, straight up, took a dive, and David Haye couldn't even admit to that. Because I think in the post-fight interview, he said that most heavyweights would go down with that jab that he thrown. I mean, is David Haye delusional or something? Because this is the same talk I've heard from him when he made that pathetic excuse about his performance against Vladimir Klitschko, blaming his bad toe for his terrible, abysmal performance against Klitschko. And I think, if you ask me, that David Haye took a payday, for that fight as well, because it's kind of ironic that the man was still in his late, he's still young, still in his almost late 20s, I believe. And then after that fight, he just subsequently retires. Okay, so he retires in 2010 after the Vladimir Klitschko fight. He comes back once against Chisora. He's supposed to fight Tyson Fury. He pulls out of the fight not once, and then he pulls out of the fight twice. That, due to injury, a soldier injury, something like that. Then he was forced to retire again. So that's the second time he retired. Then he comes back 3 years later and fights Mark DeMori to claim that the rankings and the sanctioned bodies with the WBA. And also he's ranked high in the top 6 or top 5, I think top 7 or top 8 in the WBC as well. So he's within striking distance to get a title shot. Now, to me, he's being very strategic, and he's being very, very manageable with his career. Very similar fashion to Sugar Ray Leonard. And don't get it twisted, y'all. I'm not saying that, we all know Sugar Ray Leonard has fought much, much more better competition than David Haye, ever since he's returning. But what I'm saying is that Sugar Ray Leonard has been very, very manageable in his career, where he'll take certain fights at a certain time, he'll retire, he'll come back at a certain time, he'll retire again, then he'll come back. It's just like the similar fashion what David Haye's doing. The only difference is Leonard was just fighting guys that he knew very well, like Hearns and Duran, fighting them in rematches that people didn't really want to see. Even though that second Hearn fight was the fight of the year, I'll give Leonard some credit for that. But needless to say, David Haye he's behaving the same way. And now I'm finding out that I just found out that he's banning journalists or sports commentators from commentating his fights because they're asking him questions that he doesn't like. Okay, so I don't know, man. All I gotta say is this: David Haye had also said, I'm gonna allude to this point as well. When he announced his return, that he's coming out of retirement, he guaranteed the British public, or the boxing public, by that matter, the boxing community, that he's going to come back, he's going to take on top 10 opponents. He's going to want the best fights out there, and he hasn't done that so far. So, again, that's another case of swindling the public for their money. That's what that explained why he got that $1.7 million, because he didn't co-promote this fight. I think it was all under his promotion, Haymaker Promotions, where he collects all the proceeds. And that would explain why he got the $1.7 million, and he made another $500,000 at the gate, so that all goes to him. Wow. Okay. All I gotta say is to David Haye, listen, man, you got to step it up, man. I know Shannon Briggs, you and Shannon are supposed to fight in September. Let's just hope that be a way better fight than with the last two that you've given the British public, or given us as boxing fans, by that matter. And then from there, obviously, I know he's going to get past Brandon Briggs. There's no point in trying to break down this fight or prediction, whatnot. We all know he's going to get through him. And then once you get through Briggs, just find somebody that you're more familiar with the fight. Hell, fight Eric Molina. Eric Molina called you out recently. Take the Eric Molina fight after the Briggs fight. Or if for some reason the Briggs fight doesn't go down, fight Eric Molina. I think that'd be a much better matchup than the other two guys that you fought, which is Demorian and Jarajai. Just tiring. Let me know what you guys think, man. I'm gonna drop a couple articles and links below so you guys can take a look at it. Care to comment, share, subscribe, sign it off. Peace.